What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to do a ranting style top 10 list because I think that this list is going to be polarizing. And to me, myself, it's polarizing to me because, to be honest, the games that came out in 2016 are kind of garbage. I think there's one true MMORPG that maybe has a passing grade. It's on the list. But there's also some other games that are on the list that I think a lot of you guys would really scratch your head at. And that's just because not that many games really have been coming out for MMORPGs that are decent, that are maybe even playable, to be honest. A lot of those MMOs aren't even MMOs, and MMORPGs, I don't know. This is specific to the RPG genre, MMORPG. With that in mind, I also try to pick games that are currently being expanded upon, being updated. They're actually still alive, kind of, sort of, a little bit. So yeah, you can go and jump into these games and have a good time, especially more toward the top of the list. I'm gonna be honest, it's really more of a top 5, and the bottom 5 is just very, you're probably gonna have some mixed reactions. So anyways, wanna get into it? Let's do it. Riders of Icarus is going to be my number 10 because actually when I was doing my first impressions, it wasn't so bad. It was pretty cool. It had some cool concepts. Now the combat was a little bit sticky, but there seemed to be a little bit of depth and a little bit of, I guess, difficulty with leveling. I mean, I played the hardest class there, but it was pretty cool. And the main gimmick of the game is that you go around and you kind of tame mounts. You tame mounts and pets, and it's kind of got this like Pokemon feel to it. But I actually was given access to some endgame content and to do some of the expanded content. And honestly, I was given a class I never played, and I wasn't given any like OP gear or anything like that, and I just kind of walked through the content. So yeah, Riders of Icarus, don't know. I guess maybe the first impressions, maybe it's worth playing it just for, a weekend, and that's okay. MMOs, you can just try out MMOs. You can just do that. But Riders of Icarus doesn't seem like it has too much sticking power. So yeah, bottom of the barrel here. Next game is Tree of Savior. See, guys, I told you would be scratching your heads. Tree of Savior. It looks like a really unique game, and it kind of is a unique-ish game, sort of. It's really more of like an online action RPG. I mean, it still has some MMO features, so I'm gonna put it onto the list, but it's got mixed reviews for a good reason. I think that it's a little bit better than it was at launch, though. So those mixed reviews, it kind of sucks that those are sticking. But then again, I think they've also made some changes that are also pretty negative, pretty anti-consumer. So they're also starting production on a mobile version, I think it's just a mobile version of the game. I don't think it's a proper port. I think it's kind of retooling it and stuff, so it's like a totally different game, maybe. Well, not a totally different game, but you know what I mean, right? Okay, anyways. Tree of Savior, I don't know where it's going in the future, but there is still some content to be played now, and honestly, there just isn't anything like it for this year, so it's gonna make the list. Yeah, guys, this top 10 list is basically me just kind of being nice to certain games, but I'm not gonna be nice with my words. It makes the list, but let's be honest, the genre is really not doing that great right now, so pretty hard to fill out a list. Archeage is the next game. Yep, Archeage. Hey, dude, they just released Archeage 3.0 with a fresh start server, so for a couple of months, dude, you can have probably the most amazing MMO experience of your life. And then Trion's gonna, incorporate more of their cash shop shenanigans, and it's gonna just go to hell. It's a PvP-focused endgame, free-to-play game with, you can actually make ships, and you can actually make buildings, and there's, like, crafting and, housing. And, that's kind of the point of the game, is to fight over territories and resources and stuff like that. It's got a really linear first impressions, though, so when you first start the game, it's very linear. It kind of holds your hand a little bit, but it's actually a really cool, interesting story, I think. A little bit more interesting than what we're used to with MMOs. But yeah, if you get into the end game and you try to be competitive, it is a pay-to-win game, and it really sucks because, the foundation of Archeage is probably one of the most unique out of any MMO. So it's gonna make the list, just like a lot of these other games, really novel ideas, but then just kind of shit execution, right? So yeah, I guess here we are. Next game, though, is a game that is a re-release. It's Dungeon Fighter Online. Now, maybe some people consider this an MMO, maybe not. It's really more of an online action RPG, and with the namesake, yeah, you're just going to be diving into dungeons with your party members. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up MMO, kind of in vein of something like El Sword or Maple Story, but a little bit more, I guess, hardcore or cool, aesthetic. I like it. Coming from somebody who really likes this anime aesthetic, but not like chibi aesthetic, I'm really more of a fan of the actual hardcore, almost realistic anime. I don't know, man. I like seinen anime, so I'm more of a blood guts kind of guy. Anyways, Dungeon Fighter, it's not morbid or anything, but it's just a little bit edgier. I guess maybe that's really the word I'm looking for. It's edgy. Okay, so if you're looking for an edgy anime beat 'em up MMO brawler thing, it just got re-released and it's supposed to be better than ever. So go check it out, maybe a little bit. Yeah. So hey. Next game is a game called Trove. Check it out. I really think you should right now, even though it doesn't look like a game that you'd be interested in. I really think that this game has something for everyone. I think I mention that every time I talk about this game on any list. So it is by Worlds. These guys are the ones who did Archeage as well. They published Archeage. And, you know, they're not great as a publisher. They've kind of ruined all their games. But Trove is probably their most successful game. Maybe. It might not be. I mean, monetarily, I think Archeage, because, you know, the whales and pay to win. But Trove is actually really, really big. Okay, it's pretty popular. It's pretty fucking popular. And it's really fun. I think kids can play it. I think, you know, significant others can play together. It's kind of co-op-y. I think hardcore guilds have, you know, there is some fun in PvP in Trove. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of mini games you can create yourself and play. And there is like some rating, sort of, kind of. Not really, but I mean, there is some challenge to the game. For the most part, though, it's a casual game. And it looks like Cube World, but it's not going to play like Cube World. It looks like Minecraft, but it's not really going to play like Minecraft. It's really more of like a very action-based MMO where you're just running around and just slaughtering thousands of little cube creatures and dragons and things like that. Shadow monsters. It's pretty fun. It really is fun. Give it a shot, even though I know trying Wilds, yeah, they kind of suck, but Trove doesn't. Okay, next game is Blade and Soul. This is, you know, at this point, I think I just threw games on the list because, like, Blade and Soul is... It's a mixed review game, okay? For some people, it's going to be fucking amazing, and for a lot of people, it's just gonna be lackluster. It is a 6-year-old game, though, or now 7 years old. It just now came to North America, though, this year. So, you know, there's that, but it still looks really cool, and its art style is award-winning. Hyung-tae Kim did a great job of designing these characters, and games, even now, like Revelation Online, is just trying to emulate that art style, that like fantastic, but it's like realistic styling, but like not really, kind of. It's kind of like everything's blown out of proportion, but it's like kind of anime inspired, but it's not anime. It's really hard to describe. Blade and Soul is very sexualized, though. I mean, I could just say that. It's hyper-sexualized. Holy shit. Yeah, it is. But the game is kung fu, and I feel like kung fu and sex and like the whole anime culture, it all really works together. I mean, yeah, it's very fan servicey in a way, but like it's better done and more tasteful in this game. I mean, if I'm allowed to say that, than any other. But yeah, it's really more of like a PvP. If you like arenas and stuff and you have really good internet and ping, you're gonna have fun. But if you don't have really good internet and ping and you're just kind of doing the grinding and, you know, the single player-ish sort of content, or like the open world running around kind of stuff, that's not really where the game shines. So yeah, I mean, that kind of sucks. So it's gonna be polarizing for you guys. Next game is Terra, and this game has a lot of content. It's got a lot of stuff to do. Okay, but like first impressions, it's honestly, in my opinion, garbage. Garbage, dude. The optimization is bad, okay? It is not good. For a free-to-play game, you would think it would be running a little bit better, especially one so old. You'd think they would have optimized it, or maybe it just wouldn't chug so hard, but it does, dude. It chugs incredibly hard. So you're gonna need a stronger machine, and if you do have a stronger machine, then jump into this game and know that your first all the levels. Yeah, your first all levels except for your final level. Basically, the whole game is nothing but grind. It's worthless. It's basically a giant tutorial. All the levels, except for when you finally hit max level. And then there's still a little bit more grind. You gotta get the max gear. And then you could do like the end game rating, and they have different tier difficulties and stuff like that. And that's really where the game shines. I had a lot of fun playing a tank in my groups. It was incredible. Honestly, it was amazing. Does it make the rest of the game worth it? Fuck if I know, dude. I don't know. I was given a max rank account, so fuck that grind. But maybe it is, maybe it's not. It depends on how much you really like end game rating. And speaking of endgame rating, let's talk about Wildstar. Now, Wildstar rating used to be like impossible. Now they made it a little bit more accessible, which is really important because not that many people play this game. And normally on an MMO list, I actually wouldn't rank an MMO that doesn't quite have a massive amount of players playing it so highly. But I think Wildstar really deserves it. Like, there's a lot of games on this list that are super debatable, okay? You're not gonna find another top 10 as toxic as this one, I'm gonna promise you that. But Wildstar, genuinely, in my opinion, just has the production value. It's got the love and care put into the game, and it just has a raw amount of content that is really good and original. It just deserves to be on this list highly. It truly does. Now, it doesn't have that many people, but then again, the content actually doesn't require that many people. A lot of the game, if not entirely, other than like the raids, it's soloable. You can completely solo the game. Now, if you go in co-op, you can have a tremendous amount of fun, and that's what I did with a couple of friends. Hi, bud. So yeah, Wildstar Wildstar was a good time. It's very cartoon. Maybe you don't like the aesthetic, whatever, but the mechanics are pretty solid. It seems like an evolution of the World of Warcraft tab targeting days. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Wildstar was supposed to be the WoW killer, so it's going to have a lot in common with World of Warcraft. But it really does feel like an upgrade in almost every single way. But the problem is that it still doesn't have as much raw content as World of Warcraft. But it does have something for people who don't want to spend, $15 a month and then also buy all the expansions. So for a free-to-play game, it's definitely, like the WoW killer. Well, it's more like the WoW clone killer. So yeah, I mean, it beats all the other WoW clones, but it doesn't beat WoW. All right. Let's talk about Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is an awesome game, and its combat styling is kind of similar to Wildstar, where it's tab targeting, but it's like pseudo tab targeting. Especially now that they added in the action targeting thing. I actually played this game with my Steam controller. It's pretty awesome. So Guild Wars 2 as a free-to-play game is pretty amazing. In fact, I have the expansion, and most of my hours, which I believe it's getting closer to 1,000 hours, is basically just the free-to-play content. It's the jumping puzzles, which I cannot emphasize you enough. Like, the jumping puzzles is really good. I know it sounds silly. It's an MMO, and jumping puzzles, platforming. You don't play MMOs for platforming. But I'm telling you right now, you should play Guild Wars 2 for the platforming. It's really good. The exploration, finding the jumping puzzles, doing all the secrets. That shit is good, dude. And I will say right now that Guild Wars 2 is probably the best MMO at doing seasonal events. I've played a lot of different MMOs during, different seasons, but Guild Wars 2 is like, that's its thing, is seasonal events, is these seasonal quests, these time-gated quests, these time-gated events. It's like, that's the thing of Guild Wars 2. That's how players keep coming back, like me. So yeah, this holiday, Halloween, we have like the Winter's Day or whatever it's called. Then there's gonna be like a New Year event, and then they have random in-game events as well throughout different seasons. So it's not just like real life holiday, parallels. Sometimes there are in-game events that are wholly unique to the events that's happening in the game because the game is actually evolving. There's literally been entire cities and zones that have been destroyed and then rebuilt and stuff like that. Like, it's pretty crazy. This is the most evolutionary MMO aside from World of Warcraft, in which you had to, pay for a giant expansion for that. Guild Wars 2, you don't need to buy the expansion to have hours and hours and hours and hours of amazing content. Then again, it's not for everyone. If you play as a free-to-play player, it's pretty casual unless you jump into the PvP, and then there is some debate if you need the expansion, because you need the expansion in order to get the specialization classes. But the PvP is competitive. They do have paid tournaments and all that. So yeah, all in all, it's a great game. I think pretty good. All right, but I gotta kind of admit defeat to a game called Runescape, and I think you guys know why. It's pretty much the most original game on the list, and it's just been original for so long. I'm really disappointed that, like, all these other games were trying to emulate World of Warcraft, but they never actually took a look at Runescape, the original, like, super massively popular free-to-play game. Now, there is an admission as well that RuneScape is not entirely free-to-play, but if you do just play the free-to-play content, which is kind of like a glorified demo, I think it's still a really good game. And you can still kind of play as a free-to-play player, sort of, kind of, in a way, if you kind of, bend your mindset a little bit. But RuneScape as a whole is kind of a subscription game, so if you guys want to flame me in the comments, sure, go ahead, whatever. This list is garbage anyways, but RuneScape is actually a very decent game, okay? It's got some PvP, open world PvP, which is really nice. There's no factions or anything like that. There's not even classes, but that's actually a good thing. You level up all the different individual skills by using those skills. And one of my most fond memories of RuneScape, aside from the amazing quests, is just sitting there and grinding out my cooking skill. I don't know why, but like, cooking in RuneScape is kind of impactful since you need food to heal, and you can kind of make, you set up shops and sell to people, right? You just like, hey guys, I'm selling some cakes. Who wants some cakes? I don't know, some swordfish. Let's go. It's just pretty cool to grind these levels because you become useful in the community a little bit. Now, maybe the game's changed, a little bit, but whenever I played, it was pretty cool. I was I was kind of like the healer in the group, and get my cooking skill up, feed up the guild. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff, dude. I was a chef, and I really enjoyed that. But RuneScape now, it's changed a little bit. It's changed a lot of it, actually. A lot of more quests. You're actually going to find that the number of quests is countable. There are a finite amount of quests, and that's a really good thing. Every quest is sort of a curated experience. It's all very linear. and it's got a lot of charm, it's got a lot of humor, and there's a whole lot to do in RuneScape. There is, but it's because like each individual quest, which maybe there's not that many, but each one has a tremendous amount of depth and gameplay to it, and a lot of characters you're going to be meeting and intertwining with, and just a lot of different crazy experiences that you simply aren't going to get in any other MMO, or maybe even most like just RPG period. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of this is kind of nostalgia goggles for RuneScape, and I think that's why a lot of people play it too. But in the end, what we played back in the day is still kind of the same game-ish. I mean, literally, you can play like classic RuneScape even. And it's still just good shit that nobody has really copied. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, guys, that was my top 10 list. It was a little bit ranty because let's be honest, guys. MMORPG in this current state that they're in is not very good. There are great games that aren't getting the recognition that they should, probably like Wildstar, and there's games that are way more popular and they're, you know, kind of a little bit garbage, like Tree of Savior. It really shouldn't be as popular as it is, but, you know, I understand that there's some goodness to some of these bad games. There is something to be enjoyed, and if you do enjoy them, I don't fault you because I myself play Tree of Savior, so, you know, that's how it is, but it's just... they're not as good as they could be. And this year especially, we didn't see many new games. In fact, I think Blade and Soul and Riders of Icarus, those are the only two games that actually came out this year. So, yeah. Anyways, that's my top 10 list. If you see any other top 10 list and people are talking very positively about a lot of these games, I don't think they really played these games. I don't think they did. I don't think so. But you let me know in the comments below, guys, what games are good, and maybe if there is a game that maybe has mixed reviews and you're aware of its problems, let us know about the problems, because maybe we can get past those. Maybe some people are looking very, you know, in particular to those niches, and they want to jump in and play regardless. So, you know, that's how this works, man. It's a community effort. Top 10s are community effort, so let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. My name is Skylent. I do hope you guys have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.